Well, hello everybody. I haven't advertised this talk today because last week we had a little bit of a problem, but I hope some of you might be watching right now. My name's Val Rainbow and I'm talking to you from Mandala Arts. Some of you may have watched my recording last week, which I hope you did, although it was very short, but I did go on and record afterwards. But anyway, here I am again. So I thought today that I would continue to talk a little bit more about the items that I made from recycled materials. That's something that I really like and I'm very passionate about, and I do think that that is going to be the way forward for mankind. I know it's a big statement, but I think the future is handmade. I think we are past now the time when we buy very cheap items and just throw them away. My background has always been about reusing, recycling, and I love the challenge of finding new ways of making things from what would otherwise be thrown away, or repurpose them, or even make them even more beautiful. There is a tradition in Japan where if something breaks, they mend it and turn it into a work of art. I don't know whether you call myself a work of art, but I'm having a lot of fun doing it, and I would really like to encourage you guys to try it for yourself because it is a lot of fun. Kids will love it, but also adults too. So anyway, so I'm going to talk a little bit about the things I've been making during lockdown, and the things that I really love that have worked. We have had a few failures, but then that's part of the deal really, and it's great fun to try. Anyway, first and foremost, you might notice that I'm wearing a necklace. Now this necklace, believe it or not, is made from egg cartons. So the beads, well, most of the beads are made from egg cartons. However, some of them are made from silver foil as well, but I'm going to talk about that in a little bit more detail. I've got some more examples just over here. Now, it is quite a long process, so it's the sort of thing that you need to have a little bit of time to do. So, for example, what you do, I mean, you will find the details on YouTube, and it is a little bit of a process. So this is an example of something I've made using egg cartons. There are lots of different recipes. The one I tried is where I mashed up the egg cartons, soaked them overnight in water, got rid of most of the water, and then put them through a blender or a liquidizer, adding just a tiny bit of water and some PVA glue. Now some of the recipes that you might find on YouTube will have different ingredients. Everybody's tried different ones. This is my first attempt, so this seemed to work pretty well. So I took the pulp basically and rolled them into balls. I also made holes in them before they dried. The reason I did this is because some of the videos that I had seen had people drilling them, and I'm not too good with power tools. Plus I thought it was an extra layer of work that it was easy enough to do if you were careful, that you could make holes in them as you went. Once they dried, I then painted them, and the reason it took a little while is because I wanted them to have texture, so I put more than one layer of paint. So I might have put a base colour on, then I would have added a bit of texture by perhaps another colour or a metallic paint, and then finally I do love my nail varnish, glittery nail varnish, and then strung them all together on elastic cord with a few beads in between. Now something extra that I've also added is, I don't know whether you can see that, I'm just going to hold it a little bit closer to the camera. What I've got there is actually a ball made out of silver foil. Now I think you can make them out of aluminium foil that you use for cooking, but this particular one is a chocolate foil wrapper. I found out you can scrunch them up really firmly, poke a hole in them, and what I did afterwards to stop them coming apart, because you know they are a little bit springy, is I cover them in, again, in PVA glue as a varnish and also nail varnish. And I really quite like those. So you can make them any size you like. But as I said, it's a little bit of a process. It's a bit messy to start with, but the idea that you could make that out of egg cartons is fantastic. Plus, I haven't tried it, but I think you could make them also out of the packaging you get on things like avocados and some fruits, you know, when you get them packaged in fours with like a kind of cardboard around them. I think you could use that too. Plus, you can use cardboard boxes. You could use all sorts of packaging. Obviously, if you use packaging with printing on it, then there is a risk that will come through. But then you might like that, and you might like the texture. When I made them originally, they were all a bit grey, browny grey. But if you like a sort of paler, duller, maybe more natural looking texture, then you might not even want to paint them. But anyway, so that's a necklace I made out of egg cartons. And I also made one or two bracelets as well, from which you can see there. I'm going to put that one on so you can have a look. And I had beads to put between them. You don't have to do that. You could do whatever you like. You can just paint them all one colour. But they do look rather nice, don't they? Even if I say so myself. So, there you go. Egg carton beads. Amazing, eh? So, also, right. Some of the other things I've been making, which I hope you'll find interesting, is I have been making, I love my jewellery, I do. So lots of my recycling projects are jewellery based. So, but I thought I would have a go at making some jewellery from the cartons that you have things like hot chocolate and like Pringles, that sort of thing. The cardboard tubes, which are conveniently about the right size to go around your wrist. Obviously, if you're going to have a go at this, just try it out first before you spend a lot of time and effort putting paint and stuff on. Now, the ones I made here, they were, I think, a hot chocolate carton. So I'm just going to show you a few examples of the things I've made, the bangles that I've made. So there's one. And these are using different techniques. You might be able to see those there. And I will explain a little bit more detail about how they've been done, but they're all based on the hot chocolate cartons. I'm giving myself away here, aren't I? Talking about chocolate foil wrappers, and now it's hot chocolate cartons. There's a theme here, isn't there? Another one here, and we've got a couple more here as well. So you can see there are differences, and I'll explain a bit more about that in a moment. And a couple more, finally, here, there as well. Some of you might know, if you know me personally, that I used to be involved in theatre. I still love theatre. So a little bit of illusion I love, and I love the fact that they look like metal, but they aren't actually. I mean, that's quite something, isn't it? So anyway, right, here we go. So I'm going to explain a bit more about how these are made. So I thought I'd try some different techniques. So I did quite a lot of research on YouTube. It's a great resource to find lots of ideas. So this one, I think, yeah, that one, I covered that first with kitchen roll. You could use tissue paper, you could use toilet roll, but a soft paper using PVA glue. I just covered it all over, so it gives it quite, you know, there's no rough edges. And then when that was dry, I painted or drew on it with hot glue. I don't know whether you can see that. There's a little bit of a design in hot glue. And then I painted over it. So I did a layer of colour, and then on top of that a layer of PVA as varnish. So quite an interesting effect. Another one, this one was done, again this is a drinks carton. This one is actually, again it's chocolate wrapper foil again. And this time I covered the whole thing, first of all I painted my design in hot glue. I do love my hot glue. It's not the finest thing you can use. You could stick buttons on, you could stick anything you like on directly onto the carton, then you put your foil over the top. Now I've seen it done with aluminium foil. I think I prefer using the foil wrappers of chocolate because it just seems to be a finer grade, should we say, a bit softer. And you just stick it on and sort of just manipulate it gently so that it goes into all the grooves and around the design that you've drawn. And then again, with this one I did paint it, but I sort of brushed it over very lightly with, I think in this particular case it was dark green or black, just so that it picks out the highlights. And that was quite an interesting effect. It looks quite medieval. I call this my Game of Thrones range because that's what it reminds me of. So as I say, there's lots of different techniques here. The other one I wanted to show, well there's two more I want to show you actually. This one is another one where I use kitchen towel first and foremost. So I put the kitchen towel all over it and use PVA glue, and you'd be amazed, it brings up such a great texture. It almost looks like leather, which I think is fantastic. Then I stuck on it various things. I stuck on beads, I stuck on bits of trimmings that I had, some old coins, the odd sequin, the odd jewel, rhinestone. Then I painted it black. Now it's always a bit scary when you do that because you think, oh, it's never going to look like anything. But actually, as soon as it's dry, you get out your gold paint. And I do it with my fingers so that it doesn't go on too much, and I can always add more. And then you start rubbing it on. And it is amazing how it comes up. I mean, I don't know whether you can see there, but just look at the textures. And especially inside you might be able to see the texture of how that kitchen towel just looks like leather. That's incredible, isn't it? Very lightweight. Again, it takes a bit of time because there are several layers of process. So obviously a lot of us have time on our hands at the moment, so that's quite a good thing to be occupying yourself with if you like craft. And last but not least, but one of my favourites of this little series is this one. Now this one, all I did was just to do it differently. I literally painted my hot glue on here, and I painted big loopy shapes because I thought I might add something extra to that, something I could stick on afterwards. So I drew big loops and swirls, and then I painted it. So I used the swirls are done in hot glue. Then I painted it, 2 layers, I think it was black or purple and black, and then gold on top. But the pièce de résistance, which is my favourite bit of this, is that these jewels are actually made of hot glue. Fantastic, aren't they? I saw this on a video. You know what it's like when you go on YouTube and you start with one thing and you go down this rabbit hole and all these other things appear. I suddenly saw something about how to make jewels out of hot glue. I thought, fantastic, I've got to try that. So there's several different techniques. It's something I will talk about perhaps in another video, but just for now, you can make them any way you like, any colours, any sizes. You can even do shaped ones if you've got moulds. But I quite like that because it kind of looks very early medieval, before the days when they were able to really cut stones. So it's got that kind of Game of Thrones feel again. So I'm going to put that one on because that's my favourite. Anyway, to carry on a theme, I hope I'm not boring you too much, but to carry on a theme, a couple more things I've done using similar techniques. So first and foremost, I guess a lot of you have got these hanging around at home. plastic yoghurt cartons. Now, mostly we have to just throw them away. I'm not even sure you can recycle them. I thought, this is such a shame, I've got to try and do something with these. So I decided, as I was making my bangles, that I would go and apply the same technique. So I cut the top off, the little ridgy bits. I thought, that's going to be tricky. So I cut that off, and then I covered one with kitchen towel again and PVA glue. Then I applied the techniques I've done with the bangles, which was sticking things on. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. Now, this, ta-da, is one of those yoghurt cartons. Look at that. I think it's just kind of magical. I'm just amazed. When you start doing it, you stick all the bits and pieces on, and they don't look like anything, and then you start putting your paint on, and suddenly this whole new thing starts to appear. So basically with this one, I stuck the kitchen towel on first, let that dry, and then I stuck all my bits and bobs on. So you might be able to see I've got buttons, I've got sequins, I've got the odd bit that I found in the bottom of my trinket box, a bit of an earring, you know, sequins, all sorts of stuff. And also I did a little bit, I love my hot glue, so a little bit of hot glue too. Also, you don't know whether you can see it, round the top there's a little bit of lace underneath it all. And then I painted it. And that's just plastic. And I did black inside because that, my hubby said, that's a bit of a giveaway, you can still see it's a yoghurt carton. So I painted it inside. I don't know that you could put liquids in it, but it would look nice as a vase, perhaps, just decoration on your sideboard, especially if you're into gothy stuff. And I also did a smaller one, so I cut the carton down, and there's the baby version. So I think on that I've put one or two little wire shapes, as well as some beads, and the odd rhinestone here and there, and the bit around the top is actually some trimming off a dance costume. It's a bit of braid. So you can use all kinds of things. Right, and now we're on a theme. I've got two more things to show you, and then we'll move on to something else. So that one is going down there. Right, these I hadn't finished a while back, but I have now. So I'm going to show you these. Now I don't know whether anybody's going to recognise this, but this, believe it or not, is a Yorkshire tea box. I know, it looks amazing, doesn't it? So, same technique as before. Cover the box with a kitchen roll and basically stick everything on it you like. You paint it and then you touch it up with gold paint. And also in this particular instance I had something called it's gold polishing wax. I think it's meant to be used on furniture, but it just gives you that extra little bit of shine. And I think that kind of worked. The only thing I didn't like about this is that I used synthetic lace. I'm not sure whether that worked quite so well. But as I said before, you spend time, you can experiment, you know, and that's how you find out what works. So I've got wooden hearts, which are ones I think I bought from the works, got rhinestones, as I say, bits of leftover lace, braid from making things. And as I mentioned before, perhaps on a previous video, if you had a special friend and you wanted to make them a gift, or you bought them a gift, you could make them a box to put it in. And that would be a fantastic extra little gift, because rather than throwing away the packaging, which we almost always do, they would be able to keep that as the packaging. I like doing that anyway. Okay, one more and then we'll go on to something else. So this one is a Twinings tea box. I love Earl Grey, and this was I think 100, which is quite a big box, so you can see the lid. I trimmed the lid up a little bit. And this one, same technique, using a paper towel, and then I cut, I got some cardboard, corrugated cardboard off another box, again buttons, rhinestones, hot glue and paint. What do you reckon? Not bad, eh? And I had to paint it inside, of course. So it's amazing what you can do with a bit of hot glue. Right, okay, so I'm sure you've had enough of seeing all that. So my other, one of my main things at the moment that I'm really into is using CDs. Well, again, it's one of those things that we've all got loads of hanging around, and what do you do with them, you know? I'm not even sure they can be recycled. Don't know, maybe you can tell me if they are. So first and foremost, the first thing I did, which actually was last year, I started making them into drinks coasters, because I thought that's kind of the shape and everything lends them to drinks coasters. So here we go. Here are some of my early creations. So these I made last year. So you can see, obviously it's a CD because you've got the hole in the middle. I've improved the design since then, but anyway, I did the good old hot glue technique, just drawing a design on there. You might be able to see that. Mottled, not one colour of paint, I think there's about 2 or 3 on there. So I would paint it a base colour, and then using a tissue, scrunched up, I would dab other colours on as well, including gold. And then on the reverse side, I have put felt. Again, because of that you have to wait for each layer of paint to dry, it does take a little while, but you can kind of be doing it and then go off and do something else and come back to it and so on. So that was one of my early ones, so that's got a hole in the centre. But latterly I've improved the design a little bit, well, I like to think so anyway, and these are my later versions. So what I did was fill the hole with a little circle of paper, both sides, so you don't get an indentation. And then I drew my hot glue design over the top. I quite like mandalas and sort of things that are sort of fairly even, regular. So I drew my design and then painted it basically. I think in that case I've done 2 colours and then highlighted it with silver. And again putting felt on the reverse side. I don't think you'd be able to wash them because of the felt, but what's interesting is that the glue is ever so slightly tacky, so when you put your mug on it, it's not going to slide around too much, so quite pleased with those. Spurred on by that idea, I've gone on to make more things using CDs. So these are something I've been interested in thinking about for a long time now. I called what I do Mandala Arts because I love mandalas and they have spiritual significance, which is important to me. And I thought, well, CDs are circular, like mandalas mostly. So here we go. There's a mandala made out of a CD. So same as my drinks mats, but instead I've put glass pebble, both sides, obviously it's different on that side, and also drawn my design again in hot glue. Obviously painted, same processes as before, 2 or 3 layers of paint, finished off with a highlighter, and you can see I've added my hot glue gems again. I do love those. And basically I did different sides, different designs on different sides. I'm afraid I'm not very good at making things identical, so although I try, sometimes I end up with them slightly different. So anyway, so you can hang those up. I've got a number of those. Partly the idea was inspired by a friend of mine who said, oh, that looks like the evil eye design, like you get in Turkey. And I thought, aha! So, and I like the Egyptian eye symbol, so I thought, well, let's have a go at that as well. So here we go. And also I thought, well, what would you have on the reverse anyway? I find it quite difficult to repeat my designs, so I don't apologise for that, because I like a bit of variety and I like a challenge. So there you go, more hot glue jewels. And in this particular instance, I've just discovered something called Mod Podge. Fantastic sort of glosser cum varnish, and you can use it as a glue as well, and that's what that's finished off with. But because those are double-sided, believe it or not, all I've done is stuck them together with with glue spots. Now I bought them by accident, not even realising I'd be able to use them. But they are amazing. Once you've got these two babies together, you cannot get them apart. You really have to struggle to prise them apart. So yeah, so it's glue dots inside here. I also, my latest creation, which the jury's out on it, but some people have said they like them, some don't. Somebody saw my video about making some of these, and they saw the process, which started with the hot glue on the mirror surface of the CDs. And somebody said, I like them like that. And I thought, oh, they've got a point. And somebody else said Christmas decorations. I was like, ding! I do have these light bulb moments. I love my ideas. So, here we go. Here is an attempt at making a Christmas decoration. So, I love the mirror surfaces on these anyway. And in this instance, I have tried to make the designs similar on either side. And because they're mirror and they're Christmas, I thought I will check out the designs of snowflakes. So they are inspired by snowflakes. I've also added a few rhinestones. I thought we needed a bit more sparkle than the hot glue jewels give us. So there we go. There's a Christmas decoration. So I'll show you a couple more. Now I don't know whether any of you have got experience of using hot glue, but you can get it in all sorts of colours and it's glittery. Oh, fantastic. So I had a go at using different colours. So again, I don't know what you'll think of this, but there we go. This one is blue. Blue, hot glitter glue. I do like a bit of sparkle, as you probably realise. And also, you can get all colours, but I was just trying to stick to colours that I thought were sort of a bit more Christmassy. So here we go. Another one. This one is gold and blue. Yeah. I think they could work. Now I'm seeing them in the light. I think perhaps they do work. But when you see them in the daylight, you don't have the same impact. So, and again, like the ones I showed you previously, stuck together with glue dots. The centres were more tricky. I had to find rhinestones that were big enough, or in one case I cheated a bit and put a big sequin in the middle and then stuck the rhinestones on. I stuck the rhinestones on with Yoo-Hoo because I found that if they were at all weighty, hot glue just didn't work. And you need them to hold together. I don't want to make things that fall apart. The whole point of what I do, the whole ethic of what I'm doing, is to try and make things that last and that people will want to hang on to. So I want them to try and be as good as they possibly can. Right, now the final thing I'm going to talk about tonight is lights. Now I know it's a bit early to talk about winter and Christmas, but again, I like fairy lights. I'm a sucker for fairy lights. So anything that's a kind of a bit sparkly, a bit light up, I love it. So I had, I don't know whether any of you go in the well-known store called Aldi, but they sell some very nice candles in there, which I love. And they come in a fantastic, really chunky jar. Look at that. And it's quite heavy as well. Plus it has this nice lid, quite a chunky lid. And I thought, there's got to be something I can do with these. And I buy a candle every couple of weeks. So, so when your candle's finished, you have this handy jar you can do something with. So I went through a bit of a process and I've done a number of things. First of all, I started off with glass pebbles, which you can probably see there. Now I like the effect, but it's quite difficult to get them to stay on. So I had moderate success with those. So I kind of moved on a little bit and tried other things. The next thing I thought I would try is clear plastic buttons. And again, I quite like that too. But again, you know, to get the size of buttons and the type, you've got to hunt around. And it also means you've got to buy something new. So I'm trying not to buy too much stuff, but obviously to get the clear effect, so you've got the light coming through, they had to be clear plastic. But my greatest success so far, which again was partly inspired by somebody putting something on Facebook. They put up a really beautiful design of a jar that had a crochet cover to it, and I thought, oh, I love that. So I've had a go. So I have a number of those I can show you. This was one of my first ones. This is using the jar that I was just showing you, and this is made from acrylic wool, crochet. Those of you that know me, crochet is a big love of mine. I make a lot of crochet items. The ones you see behind me are all crochet. And I thought if I make it wholly and I choose stitches that have sort of a lot of holes in them, then you get the light to shine through. Now I quite like that, but the only thing about the acrylic wool, it's slightly fluffy, and therefore it looks just a little bit fuzzy. So I thought, okay, let's have a go at making them with cotton yarn. I don't know whether any of you have used cotton yarn. It's great for some things, but not so great for others. So I thought you might get a clearer, crisper sort of finish with a cotton yarn. So that's what I decided to start using. So let's see which ones I can show you now. Just under here, I have got one of the first cotton yarn ones. So take a look at that. So you can see, I haven't got my lid quite on, but you can see inside I have got something called rice lights. Now they're really cheap to buy. I think you can get them in this country. I must admit these were bought a while ago and they came from China. So obviously things have changed, so it may well be more difficult to get them now. But I'm pretty sure you can get them in this country. Now I'm just going to open this up to show you. There's the rice lights. They're teeny tiny little fairy lights, and they usually come with a little battery and a switch. So there you go, and very safe, and you can leave them on and put them any way you like, outside, inside, and they produce, I think, a lovely effect. I love it anyway. So I'm going to show you a few of those. So that's one of the ones using the candle jars. Another thing that we like at home is we like mayonnaise. Hellmann's mayonnaise. Do you recognise the jar? There's a Hellmann's mayonnaise jar. Again, I crocheted the base, which you might be able to see, which is a circle, and then I crocheted holy designs, shall we say, and I finished it off in this particular instance with a flower on top. You can take the lid off, and inside I have the battery end. You can get them with a flat battery, and you can get them with a shaped bottle top, which I'll show you in just a second. So yeah, that one's my mayonnaise jar, and you can do them all one colour. It doesn't have to be stripes. I just like the novelty and the enjoyment of putting colours together. I love colour and texture, so that's what I'm always playing with. Another one that you might find interesting is this one. Now that one, my husband makes wine, and I think I might have said to him, have you got any bottles that I can play around with? So I'm not quite sure what this had in it originally. But I have seen them made for things like weddings and things. So again, I did a circular base, you might be able to see that, and then I've done layers of colour with different stitches on each round or change of colour. The difference with this one is that round the top, because and I could have taken it a little higher if I'd wanted to, I decided to put a little tie just to cinch it up. But also what I've done, and I've done that with the others as well, I put a little bit of double-sided tape around the top and then just push that on top of it just to hold it in place, which has worked quite well. And the difference with this one is you have a special battery which is just shaped like a cork. So these are meant to go in bottles. You may have seen them at craft fairs. Sometimes people get just beautiful bottles and put them in the top. But this way you can use plain bottles. So you just have a switch at the top and you pop that inside. So if you were doing something, if you were having a wedding and you like to crochet, you could do loads of these perhaps. So there you go. I don't know whether you can see that. I'm not sure whether it's a bit too bright, but so again, same for the base and the lights on the top. And finally, I have got one sweet little candle holder and that's got a real candle in it. Again, this did have a candle in it. I'm not sure where I got it from. So it's a little glass jar. I mean, the others are all glass. You could put a battery operated tea light in it if you wanted to. In this particular instance, I've just got a proper live flame. And again, I did that in the theme of green because that's just what I happen to have in my basket of cotton yarn, and it looks rather nice, doesn't it? Anyway, so I have come to the end of what I had to show you tonight, so I hope you enjoyed that. All the things you've seen are for sale. If you want to go onto my Mandala Arts Facebook page, get in touch with me if you're interested in any of the items. They are all one-offs, so first come, first served. Contact me on Messenger or on the Facebook page and we can talk. So I hope you enjoyed that. Hope you enjoyed hearing a little bit about the process, and hope to see you the next time.